it really can become a family heirloom because at the end of the day, one of the only tangible things that you have from your wedding.
It feels meaningful even after so much time has passed. It's naturally going to become heirloom. It allows you to almost revisit that moment, revisit this time in your life where it's love and romantic. You're like at the start of building your life together. It's a really wonderful time. The stationery helps you capture not just how it looked aesthetically, but also how it felt. I think a lot of people see something beautiful and they're like, I want that. But what makes it beautiful is the fact that it took so much time. I have worked with couples who have these like big careers in tech and they're still like, no, we want calligraphy. That is so validating. These people who are pioneers of these innovative technology advancements are investing serious money into something that is the antithesis of all of that. There is something that just truly cannot be replicated. This energy, this intention, it just can't be replaced.
Behind every beautiful wedding is a story worth preserving. Hi, I'm your host, Andrea, founder of the nation's premier bouquet preservation studio. Through building that company, I've had a front row seat to thousands of weddings and the incredible professionals behind them. On Bridal Club, I bring you conversations with the experts shaping today's weddings. It's for couples planning their perfect day and the pros who make it happen. Welcome to the club, to Bridal Club.
Welcome back to another episode of Bridal Club. I am so excited for this episode because our guest today is someone whose work I admire for at least 5 years. Truly. And
Thank you.
I just absolutely love everything that you do. It wasn't until I realized that you and I had worked on a wedding together, very indirectly, from Julian Lever, that I decided to reach out and you accepted my invitation. I am just so happy that you did that. So Mikyla Manu, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you so much for having me. I have loved everything you've done with your podcast. And so I feel so honored to be here and be a guest speaker today. I appreciate the opportunity.
Today, we're going to be talking about the first opportunity that a couple gets to present and paint a picture of the wedding day for their entire guest list. They are going to be creating anticipation just by receiving something in the mail. So if you don't mind, just tell us what we're going to be discussing today.
Yeah, so I think it kind of gives it away in my name. My business name is Ink and Press, so that definitely alludes to the fine art stationery world. And yeah, diving into what that actually means, like how that builds anticipation for a couple's event, how it kind of captures their love story and is a tangible representation of their past as a couple. As things have evolved, it's less, paper goods, envelope, stamp, and more about this commissioned art experience that captures the heart and emotion behind it. It has so much more deep meaning behind it and portrayal of their story, essentially.
Yes, I love that. It really can become a family heirloom because at the end of the day, as you mentioned, is like one of the only tangible things that you have from your wedding.
Yeah, definitely.
My wedding was like micro wedding, 30 people. And I was like, you know what? We're like over our budget big time, that I don't mind if we just cut the invitations and we just do a pretty website. And my husband was the one who pushed for a pretty invitation and we spent quite a bit of money on it. And I love the fact that we did. I mean, that invitation yes, it was like my whole personality is in that invitation. Our whole wedding personality is in that invitation. And I loved it so much that I actually have it framed in my house with our pressed flowers, which I absolutely adore.
And that is definitely what you want to achieve with your paper goods. There are so many detailed ways where you can infuse your personality into it. And I love that you have it framed in your house because that's like my end goal, is that it's something that like represents that time and stage. I think about it like I have a little toddler and I like did the most beautiful birth announcement for him. And that is something that like we have framed and is now in the nursery. And I just feel like when done well, the paper goods can really capture the feeling, the essence, this kind of emotional, like beautiful thing and bottle it up into a paper goods. So I'm right there with you. It's like a really great opportunity to do more than just convey details. You can really capture a story with it.
I've gotten a lot of invitations that are very generic and they do seem like an announcement for a wedding as opposed to like truly telling the story, setting the tone. And again, something that you are so proud of that you do want to frame and keep in your house. I hope that you share some photos of yours that you have in the nursery because I cannot only imagine how beautiful
Yeah, it's really sweet. I mean, it feels kind of like almost like a little like love letter to him at this time. I spent so much time creating like such beautiful papery for other people. So when I had the chance to create it for my own family, I was like, I'm definitely going to take that opportunity.
Yeah. I'm so glad you did. I'm so glad you did. So, Mikyla, I want to talk to you about your past and how you were exposed to arts since a young age. I myself was a ballerina when I was young, and it was a career to me for a very long time. So much that I often missed school and missed like parties, like friends' parties and stuff like that. So I got to an age that I told my mom, I just don't want to do this anymore. I just feel like I'm missing out on being a kid and having fun because I'm always training. And I kind of regret, obviously, now looking back, that I quit. I actually just joined again as a hobby, and I
Oh,
so
amazing.
Yeah, I know. At the end of the day, it truly shaped me on who I am today and how I do things, you know? Now, you did not quit like I did as a kid. So I would love for you to tell us like all your story.
Yeah, so I grew up in a very artistic family, and everybody in my family like had something. And that was just kind of this like unspoken expectation. Like I had a brother who played the trumpet. I have a sister who was like an amazing, amazing cellist. Another brother of mine, he was just this incredible artist, like in the very like literal sketching on paper sense. And I like found my way into ballet. And quitting was never an option. And I did love it. Like it became like such a artistic expression for me from such a young age. It became my social circle. And like you said, it's a discipline, it's a practice. And there are a lot of sacrifices that art form requires that I am grateful for, because I feel like my art form now with like calligraphy and foil printing and the artistry behind invitations, it requires that same level of discipline. And I was fortunate to be able to do ballet up until the collegiate level. So I was able to dance beyond high school. But I think when you get to be like 21, you do realize I am not cut out to be a professional dancer. And so I simultaneously had this kind of influence from outside sources at the time pushing me, or like the fear, the trope of the starving artist like definitely got to me. Yeah. And I thought there's no way that I will be like a professional dancer. Like I have a level of excellence to be able to perform in the collegiate level and book solos and do all these incredible things. But beyond that, like, what does my life look like? And I decided, like I thought I was pretty novel at the time, to do the business side of the arts. And post-college, I found myself working for a professional ballet company, but not as a dancer, on the business end, doing all of their planning for like summer programs, performances, events, kind of that area. And I did love it. It was wonderful to be in this artistic atmosphere all the time, surrounded by people who are pursuing excellence and creativity. But I do feel like it kind of left me with a gnawing hole, like just like something like gnawing at my heart all the time, being like, you're spending your life supporting other people's creativity while not pursuing your own. And I happened to be planning my own wedding at the time, and I fell in love with the industry. I thought the fusion of like creativity and business was so fascinating to me, because you cannot be a successful vendor in the wedding industry if you are not also business oriented.
100%.
But you can't just be business oriented. Like you do have to be artistic and be pushing the envelope on creativity and unique ideas and innovation. I was doing my wedding and came across like the invitation aspect and did my own invitations, designed them, was introduced to all of the nitty-gritty details, what it was like to do vintage stamps, envelopes, envelope liners. And after I mailed my own invitations, I thought to myself, I want to do that again. That was really fun. That was the part of the process that I really like missed once it was over, you know? Some decisions you're like, oh my God, I'm glad that's done. Checklist done. But invitations, I was like, wait, that was so much fun.
Oh.
And I was definitely like a paper girl growing up. Like I had a stamp collection and my sticker book, naturally very drawn to that to begin with. So doing it in a very detailed professional sense was very rewarding. So afterwards, I started my business. I just dove right into it. I started booking really small projects like Venmo me $50 and I'll do your invitations type situation. To kind of like tie that to my ballet experience, I mentioned earlier that the level of discipline I do think really paid off because as I developed my own calligraphy style and really dove into the traditional forms of calligraphy, I studied copperplate, which copperplate calligraphy is to the calligraphy world what ballet is to the dance world. It's the foundation. It's classical music that like rock and hip hop can build off of. So I like really dove into studying copperplate because I wanted to learn the rules. I wanted to have this foundational piece to operate from so that I knew how to break them when developing my own style. And everything that you see in my work is completely handwritten by me. It's my calligraphy script. I don't work with fonts. Everything is written and then digitized. Yeah. And it's one of those things where it's a key aspect of my business and a key, aspect of my style. And it is so iconic and unique now to the Ink and Press name. My calligraphy style you can spot from a mile away.
Yes.
And it is what gives it that flair of like seeing something and being like, I know that's Mikyla's work before I even look at the tag.
So true.
And a lot of that is based in, it's my handwriting, it's my calligraphy style. And it's something I've refined and really honed that skill set now over 8 years.
So 8 years. Oh my goodness, that's crazy.
Yeah.
I love your story so much. And you're right. Like that discipline of ballet totally formed you into who you are today from many aspects. I often talk to my husband about sports just because he grew up doing sports and is very similar. There's people that don't do sports or don't do ballet or anything like that may not be raised into having a formality routine, especially at a young age. And if you start asking a lot of entrepreneurs, at least in my case, a lot of them have had some discipline very similar to what we did growing up.
Yeah, definitely. And I think, ballet also was really beneficial for me in the end because I learned how to take corrections. You can't be in like a leotard and tights for 18 hours a day and not like develop a thick skin. And I think that especially when you evolve into this like ultra luxury sphere, like I have straight up had clients tell me like your work looks bad or like use a vulgar word. And you have to be able to be professional and be able to like separate things and not be reactive. And I just feel like there are so many more aspects of the ballet training that like carry over into just like general life skills.
Yes, I completely agree. Your website is beautiful, by the way.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. And I love the fact that you have a quote by Vincent van Gogh that reads, I feel that there is nothing more truly artistic than to love. And I would love for you to tell our audience, why do you love that quote so much?
Yeah, so that quote has always resonated really deeply for me. And if you study like the life of Vincent van Gogh, it is an emotional one. It's kind of tragic in a lot of ways too. But that quote captures the true purpose behind art. Vincent van Gogh is definitely like your poster child for like the starving artist, unfortunately. But he had so much emotional depth behind everything that he created. And he lived his life for art and the love of art and creation and really represents that. So this quote, I feel like reframes artistry and creativity to be something emotional rather than just like purely technical. And I feel like that kind of captures everything that I do love about this discipline and about my job, because at the end of the day, like creating invitations is taking something intangible, like this love story, this past between the couple, like these interests, this personality, and making it tangible. It's that transformation aspect of like capturing who these people are and their like life together and putting that into something physical. And so that emotional connection and like focusing on that, I feel like is what can give your work depth and intention. And I feel like that quote is a reminder to me that the heart behind the work that I'm creating is what matters just as much as the design itself. And honestly, like maybe even more.
Yeah, I love that. At the end of the day, you are truly making, as you said, like something intangible into something tangible, something, I mean, quite small, right? But that is such a great representation of the couple, of who they are. And again, a glimpse of the whole wedding day. Walk me through the journey, the process. If somebody wants to work with you, what does that look like?
Yeah, so it's definitely like a full scale, all encompassing partnership, is how I view it. So the way that my business has evolved now over 8 years, like I'm no longer operating in this sphere of just paper goods and invitations. It's now, this is commissioned art and it's all encompassing and it is designed at an intentional level where we are thinking through everything from your save the dates to your invitations to your day of papery to even like beyond that with guest gifting and thank you cards. And a lot of couples, I'm like, see you in November for your Christmas cards too, and your baby announcements. Like their relationships built. So that is like truly how I approach the partnerships with my couples. But as far as kind of like diving into the design process itself, so it does always start with a conversation, getting to know my couples, getting to know who they are as individuals, who they are together in their partnership, their interests, their likes, what they're drawn towards, how they want their wedding to feel, their personalities. Are they very reserved or are they very loud and outspoken and fun? And they want their paper goods to reflect that. So understanding who they are definitely comes before the aesthetics. And that is why I love the partnership aspect so much, because by the end of the process, like I'm truly friends with my couples by the end. It's not like a brick and mortar purchase and you're out shop experience. It's let me be part of your team. Let me be a part of this experience. And I will share with you like this creative world that we can create if you like let me in, is a little bit more the energy, which is so much more rewarding for me as an artist because I love being able to create more than just communication of timelines and details and logistics and locations. There's a way that we can do that with like deep meaning and intention. And if we can build that partnership, then we're able to really create some unique things.
I love that and how passionate you are just explaining the journey. I mean, your whole face is shining. I love that you use the word partnership because ultimately it truly is. And you should see your vendors as such, especially some that are going to be so crucial, you know, like at the end. I mean, we discussed this a couple of times, but that glimpse of the entire wedding day in one single envelope inside of the envelope, you know? So that is also awesome that you get to be that vendor who really creates, the whole feeling for everyone.
And it's something as simple as like, you know, often, I mean, and we work with everyone, like all are welcome here. But if I see like a bride-groom situation, oftentimes the groom is maybe a little bit more checked out. And the stationery, okay, let me rephrase that because I'm not trying to typecast a groom. I just recognize that like doing stationery may not be their cup of tea. And for some people, it's just not, and that's totally fine. But I do love taking those opportunities to showcase like how we can maybe involve the lesser invested partner. And I had a couple where the groom, he was like really, really into basketball. And so we found this cool like vintage stamp that was commemorated the year that the NBA was established. And so we included that vintage stamp on the envelope. And it was a brown like taupey color palette, but like a really cool like outline of a basketball. And anyways, he was obsessed and he felt so seen and so honored. And it's just like that small thing of you are seen, you are important, like you are a part of this, like you are heard, like you are like so validated. And I know to some people it's like, it's a stamp, but it's a really cool, unique way to like, you know, you get an envelope in the mail and you're like, oh, this is for like Jane and John's wedding and like John loves basketball.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh my God, there's like a basketball on this stamp. Like it just shows that even down to the postage, like we can be so intentional in what we are curating for you.
Yeah, and it's so insane because my experience was the opposite. Again, I was like, we truly spend 5 times as much as we wanted to spend.
Right.
5 times as much, which typically happens. But again, I was like, we don't need invitations, such a small group, whatever. And my husband was the one who pushed,
Yeah.
But again, I mean, obsessed is like our entire personalities is reflected again on our wall right now.
Yeah.
So I want to talk to you about the heirloom quality. We spoke a little bit about this as well, but what does that mean to you?
Yeah. So heirloom stationery is focused on the individual and the couple and not necessarily about, I think it's easy to get like distracted by trends and like what's popular at the time. And I think heirloom work comes from creating something so deeply personal, whether it's like trendy or not, that it feels meaningful even after so much time has passed. It is truly you, and like you can look back on that and love it even if it's trendy or not, But like at the end of the day, it's rooted in that authenticity. And so it's naturally going to become timeless. It's naturally going to become heirloom. And so heirloom stationery, I feel like it allows you to almost revisit that moment, revisit this time in your life where it's love and romantic and it's bonding. And I think that there's like a little bit of this like cusp of something exciting happening. You're like at the start of building your life together. It's a really wonderful time. And so the stationery helps you capture not just like how it looked aesthetically, but also how it felt.
Yes.
And I feel like those are some of the key aspects that make something heirloom, not just trendy or expensive or luxury, but truly that heirloom nature to it.
Yes. And the word feel is one, I would say it's probably the most popular word on this podcast. Most of the vendors that we interview, they hone so much on the word feeling and how the whole experience is on that and not just the pretty things. Why?
Right.
Because again, ultimately it's a true representation of the couple and everything around them too. A lot of people that listen to this podcast are couples, of course, planning their wedding, but then a lot of vendors as well. And I love how it's grown into what it is today. So I love the fact that you do mentorships and then also have a podcast. Why don't you tell us more about that?
Yeah, so education is something that's really important to me. And when I first started in the industry, this education, this openness behind sharing your process, information was not as available as it is today. And part of that did make it really intimidating back then to be like a starting stationer and like having no resources. And also, on the other end, I'm actually really grateful for that because it established in me the importance of being someone who asks questions, who is curious, who is a researcher, who will see something and think about all of the ways that I can like change it. Yeah. It developed this mindset of like innovation. That was actually, someone told me one time, it was like the best compliment of my life. They said that they felt like I was an innovator. And I loved that because I don't want to get stuck in this wheel of just doing the same things because it's been done before. It takes kind of pulling yourself out of something to think about something you've done before differently. And while there was maybe not as much openness in the industry when I first started, there were definitely a lot of people who were very kind to me and shared with me some of their like industry secrets. And I feel like there are a few very key individuals who were like trailblazers, and I am like walking this trail that like they already took a blowtorch to. And I'm so grateful because I feel like there's like this one Albert Einstein quote where he talks about like, I stand on the shoulders of giants. And I've been able to accomplish so much because of everybody who came before me, and that's not lost on me. And that's definitely the feeling that I feel. And so education and continuing that and not only sharing what I've learned, but encouraging others in their own businesses, I think is something that is really important. And I feel like I've become more aware of the responsibility I have to elevate the industry, to encourage originality, professionalism, and integrity. And mentoring specifically keeps me learning, and it gives me those conversations with this next wave of artists and next waves of stationers and vendors where you're laying the foundation. Like, I love what I do, but do I want to be doing this for forever? No. And do I hope that somebody else can take like this path that we've built and like push the industry even further? Like, absolutely.
Yeah.
I think you kind of saw that a lot in the Olympics, where so many people were like, I am so inspired by this next generation of athletes. And that is like so how I feel.
Yeah.
And I do want to do this for a really long time, but I don't want to be 85 designing someone's invitations. And so I feel like ultimately doing mentorship and education opportunities has made me be more thoughtful and like more rooted in community over competition in my business. And I think that that's a really incredible energy to focus your business on. So that's like the emotional side. The saleswoman offering side is I do all of my education through Cultivate, which is my side business that I have with one of my dear, dear friends in the industry. Her name is Shasta Bell of Shasta Bell Calligraphy. She is an incredible calligrapher, artist, stationer. Like, sometimes I like look at her and I'm like, you want me to do this with you? Like, you are phenomenal.
I'm sure she feels the same way about you, by the way.
Oh, I would hope, but I sometimes I'm like, why am I in this room?
Oh, stop. No, you're so good.
But we have a few courses. We have a course all about flat lace styling and photographing your work. We have a course about handmade paper and foil printing. And then our podcast, it can be found on Apple and Spotify. It is all about like how we run successful businesses. And we talk about everything from marketing, pricing, our design flow. We have a couple of interviews on there with some really incredible industry leaders. So you can definitely find our podcast and give it a listen to a couple of the episodes we have too.
I love that. You said everything so beautifully. I'm kind of like on the same boat when it comes to my industry. When I started pressing flowers, there was nothing online. I basically found like a really big brown pansy inside of a book in the library. And I basically saw it and decided that I could do a better job. Because there were not a lot of resources and I didn't want to continue to dig, I just did my own thing. I did like the fact that I didn't have to take courses. I mean, I did talk to some people as well that were super kind to me and showed me a couple things here and there. But most everything was just like, I wanted to get my hands dirty. I wanted to try it for myself. I knew there was a way to retain the color better and for it to become like a piece of art that is going to live beautifully for a very long time.
Yeah.
Now, I will say though, I was one of the pioneers in my industry that changed how things were done and the results. And I will say that from 2016 to 2020, I loved giving advice on how to do things. I was actually doing workshops. I loved talking about business. I actually went to school for business and I loved that. But then a lot of copycatting happened that I became one of a gatekeeper, and I did not like the way I was just like basically so scared of being copied. I'm at a point now that I'm just like you. I really want to continue to evolve this industry and I want others to do the same thing as well. So I'm back like teaching. I love mentoring because at the end of the day, I really want to leave this industry better than how I found it. And I really want flower preservation to truly be a must for a wedding, which today it's not. And I cannot do this by myself. I think it's like all of us have to work together. So yeah. So I love the fact that you're doing that too.
I think we all go through that kind of arc. So there was definitely a time for me where I also was like super secretive and protective of my knowledge.
Yep.
And a lot of it came from being so like ripped off so many times and just so copied and just so duped. And that is like a very violating feeling, you know, like you see someone on it online and you're like, oh, wow, like look at this new artist. They're doing really beautiful things. And you like take a look at your website and then you realize their entire website is your website.
Yes.
And you're like, you've stolen everything. Like I shared so much my heart behind my messaging on my website, like especially with that Vincent van Gogh, like it comes from such a deep personal place.
Right.
So then to have somebody just take that and like put it on their website, that feels so violating.
Yes.
And there was one experience where there was a newer stationer and, you know, she was new. She was looking for guidance and she was looking like over her shoulder left and right and ended copying so many aspects of my business. And it came from a place of like insecurity, which is something we can also all relate to. And in having conversations with her, she and I were actually able to like resolve the issue through a mentorship together. And she was one of my first mentorship clients.
Wow.
And it just really affirmed to me that a lot of it just comes from a lack of education. And like she didn't realize, she's like, I had no idea what I did was that bad. And like, yes, there's a level of like ownership that has to happen and accountability. But I think it's that notion of like, don't just copy the end result. Let's kind of replicate the thought process and the motions and the steps, but let's apply it to you. When it comes to replicating art, like that is one of the best ways to learn. And you see that all the time, that like an artist is going to a museum and has like their own sketchbook and they're like sketching Vincent van Gogh's Starry Night. But what they are learning is this fast track process of like, why did he make that creative decision? Why did he do that motion? And you can learn a lot by replicating other people's art. Now, it is not okay to then sell that and try to make a profit of it.
Right.
But it is okay to take those principles you've learned and apply it to your own art form. And it is a delicate balance. You have to have a lot of nuance, obviously, a lot of personal integrity, a lot of personal authenticity. And it is a delicate line to toe, but I look at it with my calligraphy practice and it's like there are a lot of notes that I took from really established calligraphers kind of studying their scripts. Like, how are they doing that entry stroke into a like capital S? Like, I'm really struggling with this letter. How are they doing their Z's? Like Z is a funky one. Taking those notes and then not just copying their letter directly, but like taking notes of it and exploring it on my own and kind of applying like, ooh, they thought about it in this way. What if I also think about it in that way? And taking that thought process and applying it versus taking the end result. And I love mentorship because I feel like it can really help me cultivate that in others in a way that like now when someone copies me, I'm like, here's the cease and desist and here's the application for my mentorship. Let's actually solve the problem. Let's just not scare you into stopping, you know?
The number of cease and desist that I've sent in the demand letters, we got to the point that monthly we were competing with our own images, like on Etsy at a fraction of the price. I'm like, that's my work and you're promoting it as yours. So anyways, I love how graceful you are. I mean, I certainly was not very proud of the way I was acting, just being so fearful and protective. I mean, I understand why I did it, but I also am glad that I'm past that season. And I'm glad to say basically what you said, right? Like, I can teach you. As you said.
Like, if you want to learn, pay me some money and I'll teach you. I'm not going to give it away for free, but you have to do the work, you know?
Yeah, exactly. At the end of the day, it took us years to perfect our craftsmanship. And then truly, it is the way it is today because of how much work you went through it that most people don't realize, because we obviously don't put all the ugly stuff that, you know, like all the trial and error. What do you think are the common mistakes that you see creatives make early in their careers? And then what would you encourage them to do instead? Which kind of like goes back to the same question.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest mistakes is they look to their left and their right, and they are in this mindset of comparison. And they're focused on what someone is doing who is in a different stage of their business.
True.
And I find myself saying that a lot to myself of like, you know, they're in a different stage of motherhood. They're in a different stage of business. They're in a different stage of their artistry. So this comparison is just like, it's wasted energy.
Yes.
And I know that is easier said than done, but it is important to keep that perspective and that grounding baseline, essentially. And then kind of on that note, like recognizing that good things take time. And you grow as you go. I think so many stationers or starting vendors look at what very established vendors are doing, and they're like, I want to do that, and I'm just going to do that. And they're not keeping in mind, like, I'm creating like stuff 8 years into my business that I never could have thought I would make 2 years into my business.
Right.
If you're going to compare yourself to the 2-year in my business version of me, not the 8, 9, 10-year version of me. And I think when you can give yourself a little bit more grace and allow like good things to take time, it's going to be so much more rewarding. It's going to be so much more authentic and real. And this burnout is not going to happen. You're not going to stop because you get discouraged. Like, you've got to give yourself patience and keep your blinders on, you know?
Right. So, well, first of all, as you said, like you have to basically enjoy the process, even
For
though
sure.
the process is repetition and failing and falling down until you get up. And if you fall down 7 times, you get up 8. You have to learn how to enjoy the process, because ultimately you and I still are doing that, you know, like obviously in 2 years, we're going to look back and say like, we kept doing that. And you just, if you want to be a successful entrepreneur, whether it is in the wedding industry or any industry, you just have to enjoy that process. And it's hard, you know, it is hard. And
I had someone ask me, they're like, how did you get really good at this? And I'm like, by being really bad for a really long time.
It's really, that is literally how it is for everyone.
Yeah.
You have to be bad, and you have to be okay with being bad.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's the thing that people are really scared of. You know, they, as you said, they just want to skip that part and get to the end result of somebody who's been doing it for 8 to 10 years.
For sure.
And as you said, also, comparison is a thief of joy. I say this often on the podcast because it's true. In fact, I have friends that I love and I love their work in my industry and I love them. I still follow them, but I mute them. I don't want to see their stuff at all unless I'm doing market research or unless I'm actually like looking to compliment them with something. I don't want to be seeing that on my feed every day because I feel like I am better if I'm not comparing myself to others who are doing something similar to me, unless I'm looking for inspiration, right? So I want to talk about how your brand emphasizes in slowing down, intention, and meaningful creation. Give me more examples of that.
Yeah, so I've mentioned a little bit that I deeply value authenticity and deeply value intentionality. And I feel like in today's world where everything is so fast-paced, you can get something like on a click of a button. Like, everything is just so immediate. And it is so challenging to reverse that cycle of I can have everything at the tip of my fingers. And so slowing down and focusing on intention, focusing authenticity, focusing on this creation, it is so important because it allows us to create that alignment. And it allows you to create something that is beautiful and meaningful and filled with this purpose. I think a lot of people see something beautiful and they're like, I want that. But what makes it beautiful is the fact that it took so much time. I think you see this a lot in interior design, where there's people obsessed with the Nancy Meyers aesthetic. But the key factor of the Nancy Meyers aesthetic is that it was curated over time. That's why it feels so lived in. That's why it feels so authentic and so comfortable. And it is something we practice. Like, we have to intentionally practice because everything in our world counterbalances that. And so it's so important to slow down and allow beauty to fully unfold over time. And that is what creates something that actually resonates with people. And I think that's kind of part of the allure of it too. It's kind of funny. I have worked with couples who they'll have these like big careers in tech or artificial intelligence and they're still like, no, we want calligraphy. And I'm like, that is so validating.
Yes.
That
100%.
these people who are pioneers of these innovative technology advancements are investing serious money into something that is the antithesis of all of that. It is like, let's see how long it can take us to write an address, you know? And there are ways that like you can just print an address in like 2 minutes. Not even 2 minutes, like 20 seconds. But there is something that just truly cannot be replicated. This energy, this intention, it just can't be replaced. And I think we feel that even more. I think it's kind of funny that the crazier and faster and instant gratification almost makes us starved for intentionality even
100%.
more. And so it's extremely important. And I think it is something that just is resonating with people more and more.
And I think it is going to continue to happen as we use ChatGPT every day. I mean, I crave seeing behind the scenes of artists working on their craft as opposed to something that I know ChatGPT created, you know?
For sure.
And I think everybody is on the same boat. I want to talk to you before we go about your sense of fashion. I think it was around COVID where I found you and I just fell in love with your art and you also as a person, as a brand. You see you and then you see your craft and everything is married together and I love it so much. And I remember, I think I bought one of the dresses that you wore once and then you started sharing. You're like, this is not what this is. This she's gonna be.
This is not a fashion account.
Yeah, but I was like, I just really want to know where she's buying all her clothes. So if you can tell us like 3 of your top stores where you buy your clothing, I would love that. And I think everybody's gonna appreciate it.
You know, I feel like as an artist, when you are creative in one area, it seeps into all parts of your life. And I feel like so many people are like say that and I'm like, but I definitely don't view myself in that same way because I need my wardrobe to be like presentable, but I also need it to just be like functional and like work for me in the way that like I need it to work for me. And I think that is kind of like a guiding factor of my sense of style is like I need it to be professional and beautiful, but then I also need to not be like constrained by it. And I need like a certain type of sleeve because I'm going to be moving around at this event and I need a certain kind of color and I need a certain kind of texture of fabric because it can't be too delicate because I'm lifting tables and putting tape on things and in the mud. And, you know, there's a very glamorous side of it. And then there's also just like the very real reality of like working on site or working in my studio. And anyways, all of this to say, I think as I've grown as an artist and found confidence in my artistic vision, it kind of seeps into all parts of my life as an individual. But as far as like tangible stores, I think my favorite store is Veronica Beard. I love her stuff. I love how it captures what I was saying. It's like very presentable. It's very like investment, beautiful, tailored, worthy pieces of this is built with intention. This is built with quality in mind. This is built to last, but it's also built to be used. And I hate being precious about things. I hate like, I've had people like when we're on site, they're like, I can't believe you're like wearing Gucci sneakers in the mud. And I'm like, okay, but they are meant to be worn. Things are meant to be used. Like, it doesn't mean I'm not going to dump paint on these. Like, I'm going to be mindful. But also it's quality materials meant to be executed in the way that they were designed to be. It's like the whole notion of using a Birkin in the way that a Birkin should be used. And so I feel like Veronica Beard's quality is really incredible and it allows me to just like wear something nice, but be able to wear it with ease. You will always catch me in a pair of Converse. Like I love just like a good Converse sneaker.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Like today it's like, oh, nice cashmere sweater, work pants, and a Converse. I also love Shopbop. I feel like they have a really great curated like department store energy, but like still very curated. And I'm way more of a Shopbop girl than I am a Revolve girl. I feel like Revolve is a little more trendy for my style. And then I'm trying to think like third, like where I find myself often looking. I think it kind of depends on the season. If it's like the summertime, then I love Ula Johnson because I love the frills. I love the big colors, the bold patterns. But that doesn't necessarily work when it comes to like the fall. So maybe in the fall, I find myself shopping like J. Crew a little bit more.
Okay.
Or like a Banana Republic's, like some more traditional heritage style brands. But yeah, I do, like, I am just low-key obsessed with Veronica Beard. I feel like they capture it for every season, and Shop Bop is obviously going to be a great umbrella for a lot of the brands that I love. Like, I do love like a Cult Gaia. I love AGE. I love Stod. You know, like I feel like Shop Bop kind of carries all of those brands as well.
I love that. One of the topics that we've been talking about a lot is branding and a personal brand. I mean, if you own a business, you are your personal brand, right?
Absolutely.
And you have to represent yourself as such. And what better way for you to also match everything that you're doing on your brand? You're a great example of it. I mean, I almost always wear black just because everything that I do is on my studio is like black resin and this and that.
Yeah.
So I love the fact that, again, we see you and we see your work and it's like, yep, they're married together. It's like this.
Yeah. I mean, and I say that like anytime I'm working on site, which I will do on site for a lot of like the guest gifting experiences and execution of the day of paper goods for my clients. And I'm like, I am selling my product. Like, in a way, like you're almost just like buying me as an artist, and then I'm commissioning all of this art for you, but you're not necessarily just like buying invitation cards. Like, you're kind of like buying the essence of what I capture. And if I'm going to be working on site, like, I'm not just going to show up in leggings. That does not convey ultra luxury fine art stationery. Like, I'll show up in a really nice black dress, and I purchased that dress, like I said earlier, with all of these caveats in mind, with pockets, with the hardy material, so that like it works for me in the way that I need it to work, and I can work comfortably in this really nice black dress.
Love it. I love it so much. Where can people find you, connect with you, hire you to do their paper goods? And also, if they're looking for a mentor, find you to do a mentorship program as well.
Yeah, I mean, everything's under the Ink and Press Co. namesake. So on Instagram, it's at Ink and Press Co. and is spelled out A&D. And then on my website, it's inkandpressco.com. Pinterest, it's the exact same. TikTok, it's the exact same. So it makes it very easy. I love connecting with people on Instagram, but if it's like a direct inquiry or a question, email, I am in my inbox. So sending an email is going to be the best way to get in touch.
Perfect. And then your podcast again, please.
Yeah, it's Cultivate. It's French for cultivate, which we are aspiring to help people cultivate new skills. But that is CULTIVE. And our website is cultivatecourse.com.
Awesome. Thank you so much again for your time. What an honor.
Thank you. It was so wonderful being here.
Thank you. Talk to you later.
Bye.
Bye.